me, and I'm like,
Sign the papers, we close, wires
not
are
today.
changed. It's a big win for the city,
I
actually.
don't know how you think that you get things that way.
Yeah, so it was a huge win today.
First of all, I'll look at it. I'll tell you how much it's going to cost, and then I'll send you a bill, and when you pay it, I'll do it. Because I'll do anything else for free. Well, you have to. No, I don't. Yeah, I'm the boss of me. No, I don't.
He wouldn't tear it down. There's homeless people in there to try to go through condemnation.
Yep. So that happened, and I was like, ugh.
Today was like.
So you were celebrating.
Yeah, today was good. I was like, he's like,
yes, because I could. Well, it was nice though.
The seller was
After
like,
that happened, and I was just so like, because even that when he was an asshole, I went over and above to give him a step by step of the things he needed to do. Because I fired him, and he goes, "Well, you have to finish it." No, I don't. I will not. Yeah, no, I don't work for people like you. I don't work for people like you.
Just awful
That's
to
kind
deal
of
with.
the joy of me, the beauty of me. I don't have to work for people like you. But I'm going to go
You gotta feel like every day going into it is like,
done. You're going to be in a mess.
what now? What's
And
this?
that's
so the
exactly
wife,
what's gonna
but anyway,
happen
right
now?
after that, one of my very favorite clients came in, and I was able to help him do stuff. And he listened.
It was
He goes, "How much I appreciate you," and I'm thinking, okay, that's what I do. This is what
Well,
I do for a living.
congratulations.
I don't do that
Glad
for
you
a
don't have to
living.
deal with that again.
So,
What's the plan with,
So it's-
once this property's acquired? What's it?
Hey, Rob.
fantastic.
Okay. Let's get this going.
It's kind of sparking redevelopment in there.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the City of Pflugerville Tax Reinvestment Zone #1 Board meeting for Wednesday, June 25th, 2025 at 6:02 p.m. Our first section is public comment. Public comment that is made on an item topic that is not intended on the published final agenda will only be heard by the board. No formal action, discussion, deliberation, or comments will be made by the board. Each person providing public comment will be limited to 3 minutes. Do we have any public comment? Okay. Moving on to item 3A, 2025-0455, discuss and consider action to approve the December 11th, 2024 meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to look over the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, George made a motion to approve, Robert seconded. Any discussion? Hopefully not. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 3B, 2025-0451, discuss and consider action regarding financial reports and approval of expenditures. Can you point us up anything that we may need to be considering on this? I've read through it. I don't know if everybody else has had a chance to go through these. Okay. Then, any questions? I have no questions. Anybody have any questions?
I just have one question. It says projected statement. Is that because you're trying to project for all of 2025?
Yeah, Tracy, can you help with that?
It does. I don't think the debt service is in there for what we haven't paid yet, but it is projecting the administrative fee and the service fee.
Okay.
Okay.
But I don't think I went back out and did the debt service. There will be another debt service payment in August.
Okay. So we should take the 2025 information as kind of preliminary.
It's basically year to date, yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
And the rest of the information is historical, and that's accurate, correct? Okay, thank you.
Okay, understood. Anyone like to make a motion to approve these?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll support the motion.
Okay, Elizabeth made a motion and George seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Let's move to section 4. 4A, 2025-0452, discussion regarding the quarterly development update. Hi.
Good evening, board.
Kristen Gummelt, I'm a planner here at the city. And I work on the private development side that gets submitted for review. Alrighty, so the first sub-district we have is the Falcon Point sub-district. This is going to be located on the east side of 130 south of Kelly Lane. We have a multitude of projects in this area right now. The first two, North Point, are a multifamily and a senior housing project. They are currently working through subdivision, redoing subdivision as the city acquired right of way for Colorado Sand Drive, and is currently constructing that. And then we have the Baylor Scott and White Hospital along East Pflugerville Parkway. They are well into completion of that project.
Right.
We anticipate closing out the hospital in the next couple of weeks, and then they will exclusively be working on the medical offices to get those cleared out by the end of the year. And then we recently had projects come in up off of Coppermine and Colorado Sand for Keystone 12, which is going to be a shell retail building with tenant spaces for commercial, similar to what is just north of it, with where the Frost Bank is currently located.
Right.
And then we've also had some restaurant spaces come in that didn't make the map, but Portillo's is a fast food restaurant that serves hot dogs. They're coming in, and then some other local coffee shops.
Okay.
So this is what Colorado Sands looked like about 3 weeks ago. It is mostly finished. They're finishing up and anticipate it to be done by the end of the summer. Here's the hospital. On the left side is the medical offices that are currently being built, and then the hospital expanded upwards and outwards to better facilitate more specialties coming to the hospital.
Okay.
Doesn't want to move. Okay. Okay, and so the next one is the SH45 subdistrict. A lot of this is the same. We have lifestyle communities who's still working through subdivision just north of, just west of Stone Hill. And then we have out on the west side of the map a industrial project for Longhorn. And then north of SH45, quite a few commercial properties are working through their subdivision to get all of that into place for extensions of roadways and utilities so that they can start planning for commercial. New to this map, we have item number 10, which is a planned unit district that has recently come in that contemplates a mixture of multifamily, flex space, commercial. Staff has just started that review, and it will be working towards going for approvals to planning and zoning and city council over the next several months.
Okay.
So this is what Skybox Phase 2 currently looks like. They're almost finished with this. So it looks almost exactly like the first phase, and once built out, we'll complete their projects in the area. And then just north of that, we will have more industrial space that is working towards starting construction soon. Currently, the Pecan District area over at Heatherwild and West Pecan has not been moving forward. We don't have any current applications in for them at the moment. Staff continues to have conversations with them. And then we have the downtown Pecan Corridor Sub-District area. Number 1, Downtown East. Number 2 is going to be a new car wash that will be moving forward with construction soon. And then out towards SH130, the property owners have been working through subdivision so that they can start working on commercial. Staff has not seen any plans for number 3 as of yet, so we are not entirely sure what they are looking to bring to the property. We have the Downtown East project, which is also on here tonight to be talked more about, but it is well underway, as you can see when you drive by. And from what I understand, on track to be open at late next year. Any questions?
What do you feel like the sticking points are with the Pecan District? I mean, that kind of, COVID really kind of shut that down, and we haven't seen much going on there.
The developer's here this evening and probably could best answer that
Okay,
question.
all right, that's, okay, we'll move to that later.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right. Thank you. I don't have any other questions. Okay, thank you.
Overwhelmingly beautiful presentation.
That's right. Brevity is lovely. Okay, moving on to 4B, 2025-0453, presentation regarding downtown east development.
Okay. Good evening. I'll take the note that brevity is lovely and try to get through this pretty quickly. But
Well, you haven't finished yet.
so the downtown east project is, as Kristen stated, well underway, and I'm sure you've all seen all that construction going on. And so tonight, I just want to kind of highlight for you a little bit of where we are with the project, remind you kind of our project goals. I like to just share these and keep these in front of the boards and commissions that we bring this project to, because these are the driving goals for the project. We're trying to hit all of these. And so if you see one on here and you have a question like, how are we meeting that? Happy to go there. So there's 19 goals we hope that this project will achieve. And so we've shown this since the beginning of the project when we acquired the land, and we are happily to almost to the end of that arrow. And under construction, we broke ground on the project in December of last year. Here, if you'll recall, I've shared this before, is the illustrative plan, kind of shows the overall outline for phase one. Some of the changes with this particular outline is that we have opted to not do the surface parking lots. There was some cost savings to that we could contribute to a parking structure and some capacity within the TIRZ in order to do a parking structure and not have that waste of those parking lots, because the future buildings were planned for those lots. And so if you see there on right adjacent to City Hall, south of the rec center, which are those blue boxes, that's where the parking structure will be located. And we're currently under design with our master developer for that.
Okay.
Here's kind of the full build out. The Civic Plaza, Rec Center, City Hall, and that parcel one, that will all be completed by November of next year. The balance we will seek for a phase two as we kind of work through the market and bringing those parcels forward. Hopefully shortly after the completion of phase one. And so we do anticipate more commercial, which you see there in red, active spaces, another parking structure, as well as some residential, office, and kind of retail mixed use development there on the north side. There's a lot of flexibility in those remaining parcels, and so we're really hoping to drive a unique mixed use development that is really reflective of the goals of our community. Since we last met, we have named the rec center the Monarch. The Monarch was chosen by City Council for the meaning behind the transformation of the butterfly and what this project will bring to the community. So there's our logo for the facility, and Monarch is for movement, outdoors, nature, adventure, recreation, community, and health. And so you'll start to see that logo more. It will be featured on the outside as well as throughout the facility. The image here you see is the rec center rendering. This is as if you were standing on the future of Main Street and you're looking at the rec center, the entrance to the left there. And then the retail, which I'll flip you through some other renderings, show you would be off to the right. And will look something similar to that. And so our master developer for this project is responsible for delivering this portion of the project. So it means they're paying for the construction of it as well as responsible for leasing those spaces to hopefully restaurants and shops in this area. This space is about 10,500 square feet. Here is a view from the plaza space. And so if you remember, that's kind of in the center of the project. This is looking at the rec center, the natatorium portion of the building, and the one of two slides that will be featured in the pool area. This one goes external to the building. As you move down and you see some of those little kind of the lighter green or mint towards the middle, that's kind of, the building's kind of color coded for what happens on the inside. That'll be the turf area, which will open out into the plaza space as well. We also anticipate some murals on kind of those cream colored spaces you see between the natatorium and the turf wall. Here's just another view of that natatorium. This is that entrance I just referenced off of Main Street. Will really serve kind of as a trailhead. As you all know, we're the trail capital of Texas, and so we're trying to celebrate that at our entrance to the rec center. Got a bike rack featured there. Won't necessarily look specifically like that, but there will be a lot of other amenities that will be enjoyed between the rec center and the plaza at this location. This is a view of the rec center from if you were standing on 685 and you were looking south. So this is just north of Main Street. This will be the view if you're driving along 685, that long window there. When you go inside and you walk the adventure track, you'll be able to look out on 685, and that's the long featured window there. And the street you see here is Wanderlust Way. So that'll be the northern access point for the project. There's that turf area. This I think will be really fun. Not a lot of rec centers have this. Those doors will roll up and be able to program and have a lot of interaction in this space. So a really unique feature. We don't know of any rec centers that have this indoor turf and hill area. So great exercise opportunities. This will take you from the indoor turf up to the second floor workout area. And so you can do a lot of like hill climbing and stairs. We'll put motivational sayings on the stairs there, but just different ways that you can work out at the rec center. A lot of the programming was done through work with our rec center steering committee, and so that's how a lot of these, which half of you participated on, and so it's great to see these starting to get implemented, and hope that we're doing a good job reflecting the guidance by that committee. Here's a picture of the pool. Here's the indoor slide. This is the second slide. It'll be a stand-up slide. And I don't recall if I shared that with you all before, but we'll try to have races. It's like you're standing on socks and you're kind of sliding down. So you stand up and go down it. We think we're really trying to get to our teens. You know, it's a multi-generational rec center, which was the goal. And teens are a hard group to kind of find fun things for. Now, adults and others can certainly partake in the stand-up slide, but we think this will be really popular with our teens. We'll also have clocks where they can race and track their time on how fast they can get down the slide. The pool in this area will have some lap lanes for exercise and water aerobics. There's a beach level entry for the little ones. You can't see it here, but it was right at the front of the picture, which would have blocked the rest of the pool. There will be a tree, which is reflective of big shady in the park. In the pool, we'll have fun water features for little kids, dumping buckets, things like that, to kind of a spa area, and then kind of a lazy river type at the end for some resistance training there. On the third floor, this is just a rendering of the event space that will occur. This will be a 300-person event space, which will also open up into the outdoor patio. If you recall at the beginning, you could see a little outdoor space on the third floor. This is the space that will open up to that. So a great amenity for our community. We don't have a whole lot of gathering spaces like this. This will be a great addition. Across the street, these are the renderings of City Hall. City Hall is a 4-story structure with a 5th floor terrace, another kind of opportunity for community gathering. In the front will be a cafe and community space as well. The cafe is there on the left. On the right, where you see kind of those long, skinny windows, that will be council chambers. That's where these future meetings will be held. And so this is just if you were standing in the plaza looking into the space, that's the view you're looking at, Main Street crossing in front there. What's really unique about this is kind of the transparency of the building, kind kind of looking all the way through to the greenbelt in the rear of the site. Here's just a little bit different view as if we headed towards the core of downtown, still standing on Main Street. That bottom floor there is City Hall, is council chambers. This is as if we're in the back side of the building. There will be that deck that goes around the back so our future trails can access up to the building and connect to City Hall in that way. The plaza is still under design, but I share this with you as one of the first sketches. We'll have a great lawn, stage, some really unique nature play elements, some water play, nature play. So think of like if you had some logs that had fallen, kids can climb over that. We've got a tunnel that'll go in. Some ping pong tables outdoors, some cornhole that'll be on one side, so kind of a game area. Opportunities for food trucks along Main Street, and then some other just really unique kind of gathering spaces along the lawn. You see there kind of the red sketch building, that's that second phase that will come. Those trees that are aligned very symmetrically, that is a pedestrian path. Or pedestrian street, and that will be constructed as part of phase 1. So with that, City Hall, Rec Center, Main Street, infrastructure, all under construction. Under design is the parking structure, which I mentioned, and the plaza, and so those can come a little bit later in the process. We got a City Hall and the Rec Center, what takes the longest amount of time. Just kind of keep a lookout on the horizon a little bit. We'll have a crane delivered in the next several weeks for the site, start to do some of those steel lifts. We're doing a lot more concrete pours, so you'll start to actually see the decks of the building. So that's where you see more of the dirt turning. You'll start to see the buildings kind of really take shape on the property. And so just wanted to provide you all an update, get you some renderings in front of you, and let you know the status of the project. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Chicago has a Picasso. Grand Rapids has a Calder. What will Pflugerville have?
I'll have to think about that one.
That's impressive.
That's future, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Goal number 6. Any update on how we're progressing toward achieving some of that?
Cool. Well, George, I
You
do
didn't
look
have
at
all
these,
your-
but I don't have them all memorized. So let me just flip back to what goal number 6 is. Generate land value and long-term tax revenue to invest in policy priorities. So, just a mixed-use development really helps to kind of boost the land value there. And so I think, in the redevelopment of farmland, this I think is a fairly easy one to kind of check the box for, because that's instantly happening.
The developer is supposed to bring us some of these other things that will generate tax revenue, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the sales tax part, right? So they are bringing that 10,500 square feet in the rec center. We'll also have a cafe on the other side, but that's just phase 1. I think the phase 1 really kind of is the kind of first domino to fall, right? When you starting to put people in that space, that's really going to drive that market to hopefully help produce more commercial, residential into that space, which will help to drive those property values. We hope to continue with the master developer for phase 2 so that they have those contributions just like they have done in phase 1. And so we think it's a great opportunity, certainly generating more tax value than it was farmland. And I think certainly long-term, more than if it were just, a single-use site, which it certainly could have been.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
Wonderful presentation.
Very
Hopefully
nice.
brevity was good there.
Yeah, it's nice to really see something that thorough. That's good.
Yeah.
I like it.
Great. Well, we'll come back in the fall at our next meeting, bring some more, maybe some construction
Yeah.
pictures, some of those kind of insights to that as well.
I go by there 6 or 7 times a week, so
I bet you do.
I'll be watching this.
Yeah.
I have an ancillary question. That nice blue slide, is there any age limit as far as how old you have to be or young?
On the standing slide?
Yeah.
No. You can
Okay.
do it.
So you could be 80 and go down it, right?
Yeah. Just be
Once.
careful. Yeah.
I broke my leg last year. I will not be going down there.
Yeah. I think the only restriction is the height limit, no age
Oh,
limit
okay.
there. So
I'm
got to be a
big
certain
iron
height to
muscle.
ride down it, but yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay. Moving on to item 4C, 2025-0454, presentation regarding the status of the Pecan District.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your time. My name is Michael Piano. I'm with Presidium, the developer on Pecan. So, we're here this evening. I know as forecasted, there are some questions. I will give a brief update, and then I hope maybe there can be some dialogue. I think ultimately, we met with y'all about a year ago. We presented a plan that was very preliminary to try to kind of get some momentum on adjusting to the market. Ultimately, I'll describe that plan as a little bit of a simplification to move forward while still meeting the vision and the intent of the original PUD. Since then, we had some very preliminary meetings with staff, and I think the response that we got was a little bit more indicative of we needed to go a little bit further and have a little bit more of a holistic update before we could effectively get something approved in isolation, if you will. And so, as I was chatting with Emily right before, it's taken us some time to get ready to make that investment in a PUD amendment, but that is the plan. And we're close. We've effectively brought on a land planner to sort of revisit the PUD and break it down in a way where we still deliver on the vision, but we can stand behind it and we know we can get it done. I think, the fundamental challenges that we've faced with the PUD as it's written is that there was a massive office component of it, a massive speculative office component of it. And within each block, you had every asset class in one building. That's very hard to finance, especially in the current climate. And, I think candidly, I'm here to tell you, we didn't quite get the entitlements right, and we need to redo them. We'll own up to that, but that's effectively where we're at. And happy to answer questions about that. A little bit, personally, I've worked with Nina in the past. I've worked with Emily and staff. I've been with Presidium and with the project kind of going through rank and file, I'll call it. I was like the boots on the ground manager of Elliott at the time when it got built, and here we are today. So I have a lot of familiarity with the project. And we have Harrison here on our team with us. We've both worked on it quite a bit, and I think we're just trying to solve a puzzle. And I think our ask is we're going to be open book. We're going to present what we think is the right option to go forward. We care deeply about thoughtful planning. And by the way, congratulations to all of you. And I mean, what you guys are doing there, I mean, those that are involved can probably attest that it's a lot, right? To get a mixed-use development with the infrastructure and the timing and all those things that come together, it requires a lot. Now, also, we're very grateful for the TIRZ because surely without it, it would be impossible in every way. And so I think, to wrap up my statement here, I think we're trying to solve for infrastructure outlay in the short term that kind of tees up the pads that Emily alluded to on downtown East to effectively set the stage for a market for land to be acquired to generate tax revenue, to generate more bonding capacity for the TIRZ to build infrastructure. We feel strongly about the retail market here in Pflugerville. We still struggle immensely with speculative office development, and we certainly feel strongly about housing, and we want to kind of bring those land uses together in a thoughtful way that still meets the intent, creates the gathering place, and we're getting close to being ready to present that, but we're probably a few months from that point. We need to have the economics behind us to support it. So. I'll close out there and I'll open it, and hopefully there's some questions I can answer, and this can be a little bit of a conversation.
Would you feel confident saying that you'll have somewhat of a comprehensive update by the time we have our fall meeting?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
what we're doing as we speak is we're kind of looking at the road framework. And, obviously we've built some roads out there, so we need to tap into what's existing, the road framework and the underlying infrastructure, and sort of, putting the phases into sort of actionable asset classes.
Sure.
So that's where we're at, and I could tell you, we have, like I was going to say, it's on my phone. We have a draft of what we want to do. It's with our engineer now. We're doing some studies to understand the infrastructure with that next phase, which is essential to being able to stand behind you and say we can get that financed in a follow-up phase.
So,
I think if I could just real quick on that, I would just add that as far as that process goes, what we've just chatted about and what he's been working with our team on is they'll need to update the zoning for the property.
Sure.
And so they'll provide you the update, but that's really needs to be the first step before you all take additional action on how those
Understood.
changes might have impacted the
Understood.
TIRZ.
Yeah, that was the feedback we received, and as I said, we met with staff, and I think we didn't get as far as we would have hoped. Understandably, there's no finger pointing here. It's just a PUD is a very detailed document. You got to have lawyers, engineers, planners, cities. I mean, it takes time, and it will be an investment on our behalf. And we're happy to do it because you guys have invested in us, and we want to be a good partner here. We're methodically moving through it, and we appreciate your patience with it. So,
Just wonder if you could speak to the office environment
sure.
In the greater Austin area. What's been happening here, and how is that affecting your project?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I would say that the office issue is a national and regional issue.
Absolutely.
Okay, this is not a Pflugerville problem. This is a national fundamental shift in the way that our urban centers are operating, and so we have other mixed-use, multi-phase, complex projects in Austin, and it's the same thing. Not only with office, but sort of decoupling a little bit and trying to make maybe some of the earlier phases a little bit more palatable to get some momentum. I mean, it's not very different from what Downtown East is doing with momentum in the Civic Center, getting that going, and then good things will come thereafter. And so office specifically, I mean, downtown Austin, there's probably a 25 to 30% vacancy right now on brand new office product. Office landlords are existentially, threatened by where their banks are going to come, in the next couple of years. So for a developer to take out a loan to build an office building and a very low likelihood of leasing it all the way up, you're in a very tough financial position. So just between the investment market and the tenant side market, the demand, I think a lot of tenants have rethought their space needs. Companies used to need hundreds of thousands of square feet. They're getting it done 50 now. And a lot of them are reworking their existing leases to downsize, and it's very tough out there right now. There's a lot of loan modifications going on. There's a lot of attempts for basically not foreclosures to not occur. It's complicated, very complicated.
so bearing that in mind, without trying to go too far into your plan, can you give us at least a preview of if the original vision was you would start by describing it as a vibrant office compound with some live and play and retail supporting that. What is now the focal point that you're aiming toward? Is it retail? Is it retail with a little bit of housing, or is it a housing complex with retail, or is it something else?
I would describe it as still a mixed use plan. I think that I wouldn't say that the former PUD was a pure office plan. It was a very full mix of housing and office. Call it to a 50-50 ratio. I think we still want to hang on to the idea of office. I think the complexity with the PUD is that it sort of has an incremental lever such that X amount of office must be delivered along X units in every phase in order to kind of unlock the game plan. In evaluating at a high level strategically, we think it makes sense to sort of decouple that issue so we can say this is an office portion of the 45 acres and we can position it well so we can market it in a way not dissimilar that you would think of it as a preferred parcel instead of it being, wrapped into a multi-use building. That's going to make it more competitive. That's going to open up the opportunity for discussions with tenants that might have special needs. And so ultimately, to answer your question, we view it as a retail plan with strong open space, with residential typology supporting that as well, and the hope for some, call it, I'll use the word, more boutique office offering, with the flexibility that if someone comes along and wants to build a 300,000 foot office building, we can accommodate it. I think flexibility is the key. The framework planning is essential to how you set that up so those building typologies can come to fruition. And I think that's I would say that our next phase after what's been built out there would be another phase of residential supported by retail. That's like what we think the market can work right now. And then, bringing housing options, but more importantly, retail with gathering place and open space. That's like kind of the identity of the PUD. You're going to build the case to attract an office user. And so that, I almost view it now as office is sort of going to be the last thing that would come in, because you're going to have these other elements in place to win that tenant's business.
Just a curiosity question. What do you have to do to win office today?
You have to deliver a vibrant environment.
Okay.
The office buildings that are doing the best in the market right now in Austin are, interestingly, they're not like these sky rises. They're integrated into these mixed-use environments. Think South Congress. You have like retail and coffee shops and things everywhere, and then you only have a couple levels above, and it's accessible to get in and out. People's lifestyles have completely changed. You may come into the office for 4 hours for your morning meetings, and then you're off and you're remote for the afternoon. I think fostering that dynamic is critical. And so, yeah, it's supported by other amenities with retail and lodging and housing options nearby. And I say lodging meaning hotel and places for people to just hang out in like a plaza park, eat some food, those types of things.
Would this support a hotel, or do we have enough hotel space here in town?
We have asked that question to some hoteliers.
Okay.
I think similar to office, they're going to be later to come in, for sure.
And the economic environment is, uncertain right now. So
it's very challenging.
Chase just came out with a report today.
Yeah, it's tough.
A lot of people in your position are holding off making, commitments until the future looks more secure.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're sort of, we're subject to the capital markets. Interest is 10% today for a construction loan, right? And the equity requirement is double that, right? So it's very difficult. With the hotel component, though, Austin's convention center being shut down, when we've talked to a handful of hotel developers, and they view the next 5 years as very difficult for the hotel space for that reason, because that's a huge source of travel in. I know it's a little different for Pflugerville, but I certainly think even what we're being told is that the big shiny downtown hotel room that used to go for $400 a night during a convention is now going to be going for $150 to $200 a night, and that's just going to lower all the prices everywhere. And so that's going to be very hard for hoteliers to operate their business at a good margin. And when you can't do it on the existing operations, new development never gets supported by the investment community, because they're like, well, I could buy it for cheaper than I could build it. So I'm not doing it. You know, when the replacement cost math doesn't add up, it's very difficult for new development. And that's why it's secular. And that's why developers get, in trouble. and, I say that, I mean it when I say, like, we're very openly telling you guys and the city and the staff and everyone, we need help to rework this plan to deliver on it.
Okay. With the understanding that I'm not going to hold you to this in any way, do you feel like this cultural shift with regard to office and development in general is going to be something that's permanent, or do you feel like it's going to be cyclical and someday it's going to swing back around? I mean, culture is ephemeral in some ways.
Sure.
So what's your feeling on that?
Everything has its cycles,
Right.
and I do think that the way people office will be forever changed, and I think what's attractive and how people do it will be will have forever changed. But I do think there will be a time and a day when there's going to be a demand for it again. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Appreciate your candor.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate you guys, and we truly we're planning to engage here soon, and by the next TIRZ update in the fall, we'll have things to talk about for sure.
Well, I realize that you're certainly not the only one in this situation in the country, and I can only imagine how frustrating it has to be to deal with it. I appreciate, as George said, I appreciate your candor and willingness to keep digging into it and make it work. So thank you.
I'm sure we're all looking to Emily to have some breakthrough ideas here.
Absolutely. Well, I can tell you that yes, it is not a good thing for us to sit on land.
No, it's not very,
because land doesn't have any revenue, but the bank still wants their interest. So it's tough, and so I can assure you we are aligned in wanting to see something happen. I can assure you of that. You guys have been collaborative. We want to continue that. We want to build on that. I think we can, and I'll end it on a positive note. The last 3-4 years have been crazy, right? I mean, we had like supernova growth, and then it has gone down, and trend lines have been difficult to predict with rents and sales costs and everything. I feel confident that, into the middle of 25, towards the end of this year, into next year, the trend lines will have sort of reset and be a little bit more predictable.
Okay.
And predictability is huge for investment and development,
Sure.
in our world. So that's a positive. And I think that we're finally starting to see that. And, it's going to, hopefully be the start of the next cycle, essentially. So.
I do have one follow-up. Your residential component, is that stable from your perspective right now?
Well, it's leased up, yes. We had to do some serious repairs. There was some water damage, and again, no finger pointing, but we're almost done fixing that up. So it's actually kind of, now if you drive around it, it looks like the building's almost been kind of freshly painted and everything, because it has been. So that's been very difficult on us. But yeah, the building is stabilized. It's fully occupied. Rents. While generally it's a good thing if rents are a little softer for the community. I would say that there's a lot of supply in the market in North Austin generally,
Sure.
and I think landlords are sort of competing with concessions packages and things like that. We operate the building, we manage the building, so we know it really well, and we obviously have had a long-term commitment to it, and we stand with that. So. I think the good news about what we offer, in our role on this project is that we can, we certainly can, build and operate the residential component, which is sometimes the hardest to operate. And so, that's a vibrant cornerstone to all these developments that we do with the residential component. And so we feel confident we could deliver another phase of that. And we've also explored, no commitment here, but there could be a little bit less dense, but a for sale component to an idea of the next phase. So
that would be great. that's something we really need.
Yeah.
Because to your point, we have too many apartments.
Yeah.
We've got an oversupply. I was going to say for the downtown project, that would be. I'd love pie in the sky if that whole residential piece, if it were townhomes, if it were small early family homes, would be the people who would take advantage of the rec center. It's what our communities need.
East Austin's starting to certainly look like that.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and it's something that we've put out there. I mean, I think, I go back to sort of the task at hand, which is exploring the framework of roads to support sort of some optionality, and that way we can kind of vet out a path forward, while maintaining a unified vision, which I think is a walkable district with gathering spaces, open spaces, and to go back to the vision, ultimately what I know has been always important is getting retail, and some retail that's not just a drive-through, and so and if we can set it up right, we can put ourselves in good position to do that. So
Great. Anything else? Thank you.
thank you guys.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate
Appreciate
support.
your time.
Thanks.
Okay. We've covered everything on the agenda. Anybody have anything else?
I move to adjourn.
Supported.
Robert moves to adjourn. George seconds. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.